Without it, we leave the fate of our world to chance. You have no choice.
All aboard the Hogwarts Express, because we're about to take you on a journey behind the scenes of all 8 Harry Potter films. The Harry Potter crew loved using as many practical effects as possible. That's why they had actors climbing on real piles of furniture in the Room of Requirement. And that's why they spent time building life-size models of magical creatures like the Basilisk and Buckbeak. So from flying brooms to breaking wands, let's explore some of the best behind-the-scenes moments. The wand chooses the wizard. Every wizard needs a wand, and at Ollivander's, the wand chooses you, or so we thought. You would think that the crew did some cool CGI tricks to get Harry's wand shopping scene just right, but it was actually done with the help of some smoke and skillful lighting. They brought a fan on set to aim the smoke exactly where they wanted for the magical moment, and it cost them a fraction of what it would have to create the scene digitally. As for the flickering candle that really sets the mood, the team slowed the footage down to 120 frames per second in post-production to make it seem like Harry finding his wand made time move differently. Wizarding chess. Riding on giant chess pieces is probably something that you wanted to try as a kid after seeing the Sorcerer's Stone. But for Rupert Grint, riding a giant chess piece was a pretty scary reality, since that chess piece was meant to blow up. Each piece was actually hand sculpted for the film, and motors were used to make them move around the board. But since there were kids present, they had to be super careful with how they made the piece explode. They decided that compressed air was the safest bet, so when Ron sacrifices himself for his friend and his chess piece explodes, it's actually the compressed air coming out from within, not any crazy CGI tricks. Flying lessons.
Quaffle is released, and the game begins!
We've all spent a moment wondering how Harry Potter pulled off those flying broom scenes, and it looks just about as fun behind the scenes as it does on screen. The cast learned to fly on brooms attached to rigs that would be controlled by the crew, kind of like riding a mechanical bull. When flying in a Quidditch match, actors would sometimes have to get on rigs right beside each other so they could pretend to be flying for the snitch, or avoiding an onslaught of bludgers. Hundreds of titanium brooms ended up being used for the series. We really hope the actors didn't get nauseous up there because that's a lot of flying. Making the house elves. It must be hard to act with someone who isn't really there. That's why the Harry Potter crew decided to make some quick house elves on set.
Hello. Dobby. Harry Potter should have listened to Dobby.
These makeshift house elves were made from sticks and tennis balls, so nothing too sophisticated, but it got the job done. But after they realized they would need house elves way more often, they decided that body doubles would be better. They hired actors who would dress up as the elves and then be replaced later with CGI. It's definitely a step up from the tennis balls. The Basilisk. Sometimes just knowing where to look isn't enough, especially when it comes to something as huge as the Basilisk. A simple stand-in wouldn't live up to this huge snake, so instead, the Harry Potter crew built a full-scale aquamatronic model that also had retractable fangs. That's right, the snake could move in water and bite you. No wonder Daniel Radcliffe looks so convincing as he tries to run away from it. Another completely functional accessory was made for the Basilisk's hangout, the door to the Chamber of Secrets. It was life-size and really open, and we can't even imagine how cool it must have been to walk through those epic doors on set. Hagrid's height. Robbie Coltrane, who played Hagrid, had to have been huge to be casted as a giant, right? Well, not so much. While Coltrane is definitely tall, about 6'1", he's nowhere near giant height. To make him look taller than all of the other cast members, they decided to hire a body double. Martin Bayfield, who towers over Coltrane at 6'10", was chosen for the role. Whenever Hagrid was walking with the kids, it was actually Bayfield's body in the frame. They even made him a realistic mask so that he could stand in for Coltrane anytime Hagrid needed a little extra height. Is it just us, or do you kind of want to rewatch the entire series just to see if you notice the difference?
Hagrid, have you combed your hair?
As a matter of fact, I have.
Building Buckbeak. Okay, so Buckbeak flying to Azkaban with Harry and Hermione is definitely done with some CGI, but the hippogriff isn't as imaginary as you might think. The actors didn't have to play around with tennis balls on sticks for this magical creature. A team of 20 designers spent 4 months perfecting the hippogriff. They hand-painted thousands of feathers from chicken and geese, and then glued them one by one to the animatronic body. The model had moving wings and realistic eyes, and the design team actually ended up making 3 different versions of the mystical creatures. But what do you do with the giant moving hippogriff once the movie wraps? Donate it, of course. The realistic Buckbeak can still be seen at the Harry Potter Studios tour in London. The Whomping Willow. Being attacked by an angry tree doesn't sound like any fun, but filming the Whomping Willow scenes makes it look like a blast. For The Prisoner of Azkaban, the Whomping Willow scene was filmed in front of a green screen with the camera acting as a stand-in for the tree's branches. That's how we got such cool scenes of Hermione and Harry diving and ducking to avoid the tree. The actual branches were added in later with CGI, but we have to give the cast props for looking like they were realistically avoiding getting throttled. And while the cast wasn't harmed in the making of these scenes, the Whomping Willow does have its casualties. For the Chamber of Secrets, 14 Ford Anglias were wrecked to create the scene where Harry and Ron crash into the old tree.